Well, we've just been through the week that was. What in your books are the focal points for the week ahead?
Well, I think we're still due some more banking results, and investors will be looking at that obviously very keenly because they're highly correlated to GDP. We've seen the results take a little bit of a step back compared to 2007, 2008. So we just want to see, the flavour of what we're going to see from the rest of them, I think.
Well, of course, we're anticipating NIC, that mid-tier bank, but more especially equity banks' results being anticipated next. I mean, what are your expectations there?
Well, I think it's a difficult one to unpick until we see the numbers. But, I think if we can maintain first quarter, then I think investors will warm again to the stock. It's highly correlated to GDP. We are in the L, and I do think we're going to come out of that L going forward. So I think at these sort of levels, we've seen an outsized buyer at 17, taking everything that they can. I'm reasonably confident that James Mungie will not let us down.
Given the fact that, like you've been emphasizing, we've got these results and so highly correlated to GDP, we've of course seen the central bank concerned that commercial lending rates remain high despite, interest rate cuts that they've enforced because it wants to stimulate growth through enhanced access to credit. To what extent do you see this being a stumbling block on the road to recovery for Kenya?
That's an excellent point, and I think that it really is the bottom line, and I think the governor is absolutely right to be alerting everyone to the fact. It's become very easy for the banks now just to sit with Government of Kenya risk on their books. They're getting some very handsome rates of return, and they don't have to employ their credit department to analyze anything practically. But the point is, they need to start looking at the retail sector, the corporate sector, and they need to be lending more. And I think he's trying to do everything he can to encourage them to do that. But until, in a way, he steps aside as the government of Kenya, I think it'll be trying to push a rock up a hill in a way.
Well, banking space aside, we've of course got Safaricom also stealing the spotlight as usual. Have investors really grasped the internet data opportunity it boasts? Because we've had CEO Michael Joseph being quoted in the dailies last week saying that data growth has realized a 15 to 20% increases post CCOM, and some saying that it is on the threshold of a new super growth curve here.
Yes, absolutely. I think last year it was all about voice. It was the irrational competition that came out of Zain, which really pummeled those results, which I thought, given that landscape, was okay. But now we're looking forward, looking ahead to what is this new hockey stick, and I think data is going to be exactly that. 15 to 20% jump in data consumption post-CCOM is signaling exactly how exciting and how sexy this curve might well turn out to be. He has nearly 14 million subscribers. The wholesale internet is now a reality for Kenya, and I think he sits in pole position. Investors, I feel, have yet to fully realize this opportunity, and you will note it trades very well. It dips 5 cents. It seems to me this is a very attractive re-entry point for those investors who are not in it at the moment.
That having been said, Aly-Kahn, is Access Kenya then sitting on a similar kind of growth curve? Because I think towards the end of last week, this was a stock that was trading lower.
It's a good point, and it has been trading a little softish. There was some kind of downgrade out of HSBC, I think, a couple of weeks back. I think they just don't have the footprint across the country that Michael has. I think they're in a very, very sexy space, the internet, but they are currently in this sort of evolutionary phase where they're going from the corporate customer niche and looking to get into what I would call the metropolitan Soho niche. And we're watching to see what pans out there. Year on year, the CEO said they were going to be up 19%. And I think a lot of investors thought to themselves, well, this is a high growth, we would have expected a little bit more. And I think that's why you've had a little bit of softness in the price.